Welcome to Let's See To It. Well, technically, probably the final episode of Let's See To It. Let's be honest, we're kind of debating the name change. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I am Chris, the real Darth guy, and joining me is Justin Baggy Noodle Arms. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I actually am not too tired right now, which is nice. Big change for us here, and yeah, doing good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty well. You know, you're right with that. Not tired right now. I'm doing fine. Last week I had to shotgun some G Fuel a little bit to get my energy level up, but you know, it's just, I know it's one of those things nowadays where you just kind of have to like do your own energy generation technique, if you will, because you know, we're always inside. We're always kind of, I sit in this chair, literally this chair, in this spot for like, I don't know, it feels like 18 hours a day. It's not that long because I sleep more than that, but you know, it's just so much.
It's probably close to, 14 hours a day. Yeah, I would go with that.
You're like, I'm done with work. Click. Well, I'm just going to sit here and continue on, I guess.
Right.
Like, it's a weird world we live in.
I think I'm growing to the chair.
You're like, hey, this is like me in the chair, one now.
It's attached, yeah.
You move around and you just do this. You just slide around the room. You're like, I don't want to stand up. This is one with me now.
I have done that. I have to go to the other side and I'm like shuffling with my chair.
That's funny. So I sent you a video just the other day and I was like, oh my God, we are living in the Division world. Check out this video.
Yeah. That video was really cool. You know what? I don't think I saw that video back in like the day. Like I definitely watched some of the stuff.
Okay.
But I don't know if I saw that whole, like, what was that, 10-minute video?
Yeah, so that 10-minute video is a combination between the very, very, very beginning video and one of the videos that are deeper in the story. But it was crazy. I was like, we are living in the Division. This is just happening.
They said it's just the flu, right? And like all that stuff. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, literally the things that are going on in the world right now. And I was joking with one of my buddies in town, and I was like, well, unfortunately, I don't have a red or an orange ringed watch. So I'm apparently not one of them. I'm not an agent.
I believe they sold that when the first Division came out. Like you could buy that watch, and I almost bought it. I was this close, and then like hated the game a month later. So I was like, thank God.
Well, here's the thing. You hated the game a month later because, like, I guess this is just the natural progression of games nowadays. They release them too early, and you're like, oh, well, I see what they kind of want it to be, but it's not quite there yet. You abandon it, and then a year and a half later or a year later, it becomes the game they dreamed it to be. It's perfect, and everyone's like, no, the Division or Rainbow Six Siege or like so many games we can quote right now. They're like, no, it's perfect now. You just had to wait for like a year, and you're like, well, I typically buy games on release, and then I try it, and if I don't like it, I peace out.
I'm there with the hype. With me and all my friends are like hyped about it. We buy it, we play it. And that's when we decide if the game lives or dies by us, right? Like,
right. That's the exact same thing that happened with me with Rainbow Six Siege, because like all of a sudden, because I bought Rainbow Six Siege on a release, and all of a sudden my son's like, hey, can you download Rainbow Six Siege for me on the PlayStation? I'm like, wait, Rainbow Six Siege? Why do you want to play that? And he's like, I don't know, all my friends are playing. I'm like, all your friends are playing? What are you talking about? I thought that game was dead. And he's like, no, it's like really good now. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I signed on, and the gameplay was good, but the community was like, what?
Rainbow Six Siege is, in my opinion, one of the top like 3 worst communities on like gaming. I did just get a message that my mic might sound weird. Does it sound weird for you?
No, it does not. It may be me turning you way up, possibly. Here, I'm going to turn you down. I'm going to turn you down a couple touches.
Luckily, we do record this separately for our streaming platforms that we will eventually be on. But
well, speaking of that, I don't want to interrupt the conversation we were just having about terrible Rainbow Six Siege community, but switching to something more lighthearted. Yeah, we do record the audio tracks separately, and I know we did say that we were going to be released on podcast services on this past Monday. But what happened there, Justin? What So we wanted to rename the podcast.
We are trying to rename so it's saying low quality. But anyway, we were trying to rename away from Let's See To It. Not just because we don't want to be like so ingrained with our C2 Discord, because we're decently okay with that. It's more so discoverability on streaming platforms. If you heard Let's See To It and you're not part of the C2 Discord, that doesn't really mean much to you.
You're probably not going to click on it. If you go gaming podcast and we popped up, you're probably just going to scroll kind of by it because it's doesn't mean anything in a way. It at least is not clickbaity. Basically what we're trying to be clickbaity, right?
We're not clickbaity, but yeah, I mean, you want it to be so obvious that we're talking about gaming or streaming, or like you kind of want to know what you're getting into without even getting into it, because everybody judges a book by a cover, even if they say they don't.
Well, especially in like a podcast directory. Like we were talking about it when we were trying to rename, and I'm like, the cover art kind of has to call attention to me in general. So what did I do? I designed a cover art piece that has a giant controller on it to be like, we are gaming, I promise. And you're like, well, literally everyone else has that. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's, damn it. like
every podcast that starts out, I feel like has a microphone as their logo. Like all
true.
Of them.
Yep.
And then if you're gaming, you do a controller or a controller with a microphone. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted something a little more unique, stand out, but still say, guess what? You're listening to primarily gaming?
Yeah. Well, because most of the time we do talk about video games. We do touch into the streaming realm, but like what's an icon for streaming? Like what do you put on a logo for streaming? And then you're like, is this a photography stream or a videography stream? Like what?
You can also stream no webcam. You can stream no game. You can stream. So yeah, right. I mean, streaming is like, you'd have to put a bunch of stuff to be very obvious.
So we're still working on a name. So if anyone out there in Twitter, on chat right now, anyone out there has any kind of ideas for gaming podcasts, we are still not 100% decided, and that's the only reason we're not mentioning it right now. We do have a logo and a potential and a Twitter name and a Gmail address, technically. I got all the things.
We're not sold on it though, and if we come up with a new name soon, it will not be our name. We're also waiting for a intro song. I don't want to say song, but intro music for
it's basically our theme music, because it'd be the intro and outro and kind of both in a way, to kind of just solidify the stream a little bit or the podcast a little bit. But we're waiting right now. We're looking at one specific person, technically.
Yeah, but, we're commissioning somebody to make our song. So once the song's ready, the name is picked, streaming services we will be on. Right. I said that like Yoda, but that's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't really want it to be later than next Monday. So we've already delayed it by almost a week at this point. Yeah. So if we have to go without an intro, we at least need to pick a name and get those episodes out there, because you can re-upload episodes, by the way. So like on Podbean, if I upload episode 1
with the song later.
Right. And then I can re-upload the first episode, like because they expect like maybe you had a problem with in the middle of it, maybe something skipped or something, and you can re-upload the episode and it'll be fine. So we do need to get out there this Monday. So another thing that I want to ask the crowd is, would you be more interested in watching it on Twitch live, on YouTube as a kind of an on-demand kind of a service, or would you rather listen to
live?
Right, yeah. Or like, do you want to listen to it as just audio only? Because talk shows like this I typically listen to when I'm in the shower, getting ready for work in the morning, doing my morning routine. It's my phone's just sitting in my back pocket and I'm walking around the house kind of a thing.
Yeah, going for a run, driving your car, working, and you can't like really watch the video because you're typing and whatever.
Yep, exactly.
So I agree. I only listen to podcasts like audio. I do not watch any podcasts. I've popped into a few that I like listen to that do it live just to, I don't know, see the faces and yada yada. But
yeah, you want to put a face with the voice, because here's the funny. I think we talked about this on a private VC at one point where I was like, until you see someone on video or in person, like they do a meet and greet or something like that, you like have this mental image of what they look like based on how they sound, right? Like, or at least I do.
It's
like
never correct either.
Oh, never. I'm always like, wow, I didn't expect that whatsoever. So
I'm like, oh, that's a little tiny. That's like a tiny, like really short person. They probably have a really big beard, and I meet them, and they're like, they can't grow facial hair. They're 19 feet tall, and
you're like, what is happening right now? Now, do you ever struggle with after you do meet someone, you're like, no, I'm just going to pretend like my original vision was them anyways. So you just go back to the audio version. You're like, nope, erase that from memory, and I'm going to just pay attention to the one that I thought it was.
There's a few people that I can't name like any of them right now for some reason, but that I've seen. And now when I just hear them still, like if it's a podcast or something, I immediately go back to like forgetting that's the same person.
Oh, okay.
Like they're almost two separate people, even though if I stop and think for even like 2 seconds, I know for a fact they're not. But as you said, when you hear the voice, it doesn't fit the real image of them. So you're kind of like, no, that's not them. Here's them.
That's so funny because you completely made up this other person, but you're like, no, their real person doesn't fit. Not you
can't be real.
No, this one's fake.
Know what they're doing.
This is a doppelganger. No, they're just that's who they send out so that they pretend to be that person or whatever.
Yeah.
The stunt double. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Exactly. That's all. Because I do it all the time. I did it with I don't know, because I listen to a lot of radio shows. And like there's a show in my local area, the Alan Cox Show, and it's not him specifically, because him I kind of had a similar idea of what he was, but his co-star, the first time I saw his co-star, because his co-star also does stand-up comedy around our area, and one of my favorite comedians was actually the opener for him, and I saw him and I was like, wait, you're on the Alan Cox Show. And I was like, this is not working for me. In the whole comedy show, I was just like, the voice is there, just the person is not. Like mentally, it was wrong. It didn't work.
Corn in chat just said she was still laughing, remembering when I met her at PAX. And I said, oh my gosh, you're so much taller than on camera. So it's kind of the same thing, like camera, you can't tell someone's height. They're sitting in a chair. I mean,
typically, yeah, right.
You can, I guess, if you knew the height of the chair, but even still, you're only getting half their body height.
Yep, and then depending on the camera angle, because there's some interesting things, like a lot of YouTubers will put their camera a little bit higher than they are, so they look shorter, or if they put it lower than they are, they look taller, kind of a thing. It's just one of those, like, it's weird how your mind puts all of this stuff together. So even if you did see the person, you're like, well, I know what they look like, but they're probably only this tall. Or, it's just the weirdest thing that your mind just fills in the blanks for you. And then once your mind fills in the blanks, you just go,
that's who they are.
That's not right.
Yeah.
That's who they are. And even if I see them in real life, I'm going to be like, nah, it's not working. No. Switch back to my imaginary.
Who the people were that I was thinking of. My local radio show as well, Rock 101, Greg in the Morning Buzz. It's 4 people that do the episode every day, and they go live on Facebook a lot. And I listened to them for probably 26 years, whatever. Like my mom used to listen to them, so like they've been in my life for like 20 years or whatever. And I saw them on Facebook, and I was like, no, none of them. Like the whole group is just. I thought something about their radio voice, like I thought they would look, this sounds mean, but like would look super cool and be like these like I don't know, like these studs or something, and they were like,
You were like
normal people.
you were like, my mind made you way better than you. No.
Not better, but yeah, it's just like it's so different than who they were, and now I can kind of picture them when I hear them. But like, it's funny to like you said, 20 years of just making up my own decisions of who they were.
20 years is such a long time too, because like, you know, you hear a voice for a while, you have to put an image to it. Like, I don't know why I have to do that. I have to put some kind of mental image to the things that I hear. Even when I'm reading a book, I am literally just playing out the whole thing in my head like a movie. And
so like I was not ready for this episode, but I think it's kind of happened naturally here. I think this is where we tell everybody that when I read a book, I don't picture anything.
Okay. That's see, so for me, I'm more of like, I have this inner voice that tells me things and talks to me, but when I'm reading a book, I literally it's almost like I'm watching a movie in my head. You can't close your eyes while you're watching a book, reading a book, but like as I'm reading it, I am picturing what's happening vividly, completely vividly. And for instance, if I see a movie first and then read the book that's related, I'm just picturing the actors in the book. That's it. Like like I read the Jason Bourne books and I just saw Matt Damon the whole time. Now, if you go the opposite way, because I read the book from the movie Lone Survivor, I read the book first. So when I saw the movie and it was Mark Wahlberg, I was like, this is not working. Like, it's just, it's not working. It's not the same person.
Me once, because I said I don't picture anything. I picture like, I think people are the only thing that, it's not vivid, but I have like an idea of, like we said, like I think they're so tall, I think this or that. Harry Potter is my one. Like Harry Potter, when he came out, I remember vaguely being like, that's Harry Potter. And now, like you said, now if I ever even talk about the book, it's, why can't I think of his, that's his name. I know it. Daniel Radcliffe,
yeah.
That's his name.
So wait, so if I say picture a garden, how do you picture the garden? If you can think of a garden, because you're thinking about a garden right now, right? But yeah, when I say picture a garden, what does that mean to, like, how does that translate to you? If
not well.
Are you seeing a garden, or are you just like, yeah, flowers and stuff, like words?
I'm almost like saying the words, and some of it, like I'm picturing, if anything, green. Like obviously like a lot of green, because, you know, the stems of flowers or the grass or... But other than that, I have to like sit there and be like, okay, there should probably be a fence.
Wait, so let's just say picture a garden, and then here's the thing: is like if you tell me your version of what you're seeing, I'm instantly going to change my image in my mind to what you're saying, because then all of a sudden you've changed, like you've morphed it to that, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I can picture that now.
No, you know what's sad? This is gonna tell you all something. The best I can do is I can kind of picture a garden in Animal Crossing.
Oh,
just like vaguely, like I can kind of picture what that looks like, because I've seen so many of them in the past few days.
So when I say picture a garden, are you just like, well, I've seen a garden before, so I'm just going to picture that thing. I'm going to imagine seeing that again.
That's like the best I can do is I can give you like, you know, like I'm picturing, I guess, like Animal Crossing tulips in a brown fence.
That's crazy, because like my mind just like makes up this new random garden. Then I'm like, okay, yeah, there's roses there because everyone likes roses, whatever. You know, there's just like a complete garden. And like my garden, for some reason, is, you know, those stupid planter boxes that are made out of railroad ties. See, this is how deep it gets. Like there's a garden in a railroad tie like box in someone's yard, kind of a thing. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, this is the garden that I'm picturing right now.
That's next level. Yeah, I'm not there, so
I have no idea why that's that way. And then like,
I know we talked a lot about this because I brought the idea, I think, to the Discord, saying like, hey, I just watched a video about people who actually picture the things people talk about. It's
a strange thing, because your post was, some people don't have an internal monologue, right?
Yes, that's what it was.
And interestingly enough, as we're talking about this subject, it's actually deeper than that if you think about it, because I have an internal monologue where it's like there's like a it's like the devil on your shoulder and the angel on your shoulder, where you have like versions of yourself talking to yourself in a way. But I can
Yeah.
also, like, if someone says picture this, I can imagine the thing in like vivid detail. So it's
Yeah, see,
kind of
I definitely do
both.
not. I have like I'll picture sentences, like I'll think sentences, right? But it's not like somebody being like, "Oh, Justin, you should go take a shower" or something, you know? Like I'll be like, "Okay, so it's probably been like a day or two since I showered. Should do that." Like that's the most like I'm thinking
Huh.
like, instead of if you just talked out loud, I would be thinking that, but I'm never having like I've heard people who have like I don't know if they're thinking about someone doing chore, like someone telling them to do chores. They think of like I don't know their mom's voice or something, and then they're
Sure.
thinking about I don't know like getting groceries and they forgot one. They're thinking of their wife like telling them that they didn't pick up the eggs or whatever it is. You know, like
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
different voices for like different almost stories that they're making up. Yeah,
That's
it's
interesting
me
because
thinking of a sentence. Done.
that's interesting because the way that I interpreted inner monologue was like when let's say I'm thinking about what's the next game I want to play, and then it's me talking to myself, like kind of in my head in a way, being like, well, what if you want to play this? What if you want to play that? And then debating with myself, and like I have two. It sounds like I'm crazy, but I have two like stark perspectives where it's like me as in me, and then me, my thoughts debating with me, kind of a thing. That's
Yeah.
Now that just sounds like I'm crazy, but like it's like I'm having an internal debate with myself, and it's a I guess it's not a monologue at that point. I'm kind of, but it is just me. I don't know. I don't know what the technical
Yeah.
thing for
It,
that is.
I, I've said this to other people too. It's a very hard thing to even talk about with somebody because the way you describe it is now how I have to decide you think about it. And maybe I do, and you're just bad at describing it, or maybe I don't because it's all in each
It's
other's
like
heads.
it's like when
Can't like
you
read each other's heads.
when you close your eyes at night. Ancient bread says it's called your conscious or conscience,
Conscience,
and like
right?
while it is, but it's a weird thing where like it feels like it's more than that. So like if I'm going to bed and I can't sleep and I close my eyes, there's literally me talking to me while my eyes are closed. There's nothing happening. I'm not saying anything out loud. It's all me talking to me. And I'm like, that's my thought process, is me talking to me. I don't know if that makes sense, but like
Yeah.
if
No, for sure. Like I'll do that a little bit. Like I will lay there and be like, "Oh man, like you meant to do the dishes, right?" Like
okay.
or I should have went to bed earlier. Like little thoughts, but I mean, I also fall asleep in like 15 seconds flat because I think I can turn that like
Wow. I'm jealous about
brain
that.
thing off. So yeah, it's probably like 4 times a year that I can't fall asleep. And usually that means the next day something's going on,
Okay.
like I'm flying or
Oh,
I
flying's
don't
the
know, I have to
worst.
do something stressful.
Flying is the worst.
Yeah, I don't mind short flights. If it's like 3 hours or under, sign me up. I'll bring my Switch, I'll play a game,
Okay.
whatever. The second it's over like 3 hours, I get like mega anxious in my seat.
You're like-
I'm
like-
never gonna get to move again. I haven't moved my legs in so long. Oh my gosh, these people are way too close to me, and I'm like freaking out inside. I can feel my heart start to race.
That's
I'm scared of
claustrophobia,
the
right?
height.
That's claustrophobia, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't have that by myself. You could probably throw me in a coffin and like tell me to play my Switch in there for like a day.
And you're like, I'm
and
good.
besides my legs like cramping up, I'd probably be fine.
What? Okay.
Then I don't know. In a plane, it's weird.
I don't like.
Maybe I would freak out in a coffin. I think it's like if it's a force thing, because like I've ridden in trunks in cars. I know that's another story we could get into.
It sounds
but
like a spy movie. Like I was thrown in a trunk
when I
once.
was in high school, I had a friend who I set up a bed in her trunk, and anytime we drove anywhere, I would like climb into the trunk with my blanket and pillow and like just like go for the ride.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? We did weird things as kids, right?
We did. I mean, now I'm stuck on the trunk riding. I'm just picturing see, now I'm vividly picturing myself freaking out in the trunk. Like, no matter how many blankets, no matter how comfortable I am, I'm like, I'm still in a trunk. I'm still locked in a trunk. Like, what if they stop and I know they stopped and they knock on the trunk and then they don't open it? I'm going to freak out.
Well, her trunk had a button on the inside of the trunk that you just pushed and the trunk opened.
Okay, well, that's a little bit better. A little bit.
Yeah, it was like, like a keyhole size, just like full circle though, and you just pushed it and boop, the trunk opened. Okay. So I was never scared of that.
Interesting.
By the way, dark and raw. I might be saying that wrong.
I always call him.
Told me to say.
I always call him Dark. Welcome, Dark. Nerdy, welcome. We have Lunar Babe in here. Ancient Bread. Ancient Bread was asking about the new name. So we covered it very briefly. Ancient. We're still in flux here. So throw out some name suggestions, because basically what we want is a nice. I don't want to say clickbaity, but I kind of want to say clickbaity because we want people to...
Don't say clickbaity.
Yeah, but it makes sense. It really makes sense because we want people...
You're baiting the click. Instead, we want it to be obvious what you're... Like, we want the name to draw you in because you're interested in the actual thing. Like, clickbait would be like, our name is... Make $1 million by listening to this podcast.
And then you click in and you don't make
like,
right.
Oh my gosh, I need to find out how to make $1 million. But we're like... We want our name to be like something that a gamer would see and be like, oh,
I want to watch that.
That's a gaming thing.
I want to watch that.
Because, like if the average person saw it, maybe they wouldn't understand it. They may still click it, but we may not be the right podcast for them anyway, right? Unless they're deciding to get into gaming. But we talk heavily. Half the podcast every episode is gaming probably,
and then 25% of the other side is streaming, and then there's the randomness. Yeah.
Another 25 of our brains.
Right.
So yeah.
I mean,
we just came big full circle, but
totally
back to the name.
We totally did. We totally did. We will pick a name. We promise we'll pick a name. This one is kind of the notification of that we are picking a name that's going to be different. But if you have anything out there that is gaming focused and that you've always been like, I wish there was a podcast named this, just throw it out there and we'll check it out. But so anyway, moving back into this monologue thing. So
okay, back to that.
back to that. Because I'm still freaking out about this trunk thing. It's driving me nuts.
Let's get away from the trunk.
So
I might be riding in the trunk while you're listening to this, guys.
You can't picture. I'm going to pick something random. Picture a computer mouse. Do you actually visualize the computer mouse, or do you just know, like, you're like, well, I know what a computer mouse is, I'm good? Like, how does that...
Yeah, I don't visualize it at all. The most I can, if you, like, tell me I have to visualize it and I close my eyes, I will come up with the shape of a wire, like a long, thin, two lines, parallel to each other, basically.
Okay.
And then, like, a oval-y type shape, and that's it. Like, I'm done. That I've pictured the mouse.
Wow. Okay. See, I'm the type that, like, well, because instantly I would picture my mouse, but it would be like I would picture everything around it too. So I could see, like, even if I wasn't in my studio, I would see my mouse pad, the monitors around it, the stuff around it, like everything. I would picture me sitting in this chair with the mouse sitting here, kind of a thing. Like, I can picture very vividly all of those details.
Yeah. What's weird is it's obviously not a memory thing, right? Like, I could sit in the other room and you'd be like, what side of the desk is your smaller monitor? Or like, where's your stream deck? And I could probably describe where it is.
Yep.
But then if you said, like, picture your desk, like, I would have to sit there and almost do what I just said. Like, I'd have to sit there and be like, okay, there's a desk, there's a monitor, and I'm almost just picturing words, but I know what the words mean.
Okay.
Like, if you were to draw a picture and instead of every object, you literally wrote a word to draw the picture, like you wrote tree, lake, tree, mountain in the back. So, you wrote the word mountain.
So you're in the show VeggieTales.
Do they do that?
I think it's VeggieTales. No, not VeggieTales. There's this one where, like, the pig is the word pig with a head on it. Like, the cow is literally the word cow with a head on it. Like, everything in the whole entire world is the word with, like, some extra details too. Like, a tree would be, the trunk would be trunk, the top would be leaves, but all the leaves would be the word leaf. So you would see a bunch of leaves.
That's basically what I'm doing, because I do know what everything looks like, but I don't have to picture all that detail. I just would know. Like, I know what a tree is, you know, like you don't have to get, if I went outside and you said point to a tree, I wouldn't point to the wrong thing.
So if I had to, so if someone asked you and they were like, hey, can you describe your streaming area? Like, what do you have in the background? Like, give me a little bit of a mental image of it. Would you be able to describe it to them to the point where they could picture it? I wonder. Because that would be interesting, because now they obviously, by asking that, they're the type of person that can actually imagine these things described correctly.
I would name the items, and I would hope they know what that means.
And they're like,
you know, like a standee with some stuffed animals on the top. Like,
they're like, all I see is like a storage room with a bunch of things in it. Like, I don't even, what? Put these all together for me. What's going on? That's weird. That's interesting to me. It's a fascinating subject, because I'm the opposite, where I can vividly picture things. I like kind of talk to myself when I'm thinking, in a way. It's like,
yeah,
it's very hard to imagine, because when you first introduced this, it was very hard for me to imagine it another way. And then you're different. I've talked to a couple other people that are different, and now I understand it to a little bit more of a basic level, to where it's not as weird, but I'm still like, but how do you think if you don't talk to yourself? Like, how do you think?
So when I dove really deep, it was pretty interesting, because one of the first videos I watched was an artist who like does drawings and stuff, I think as her career.
Okay.
She may have even done digital stuff, and she said she could picture nothing. She was worse than me, it sounded like, based on her description. Like,
really?
You told her to close her eyes and picture something. It was like black, like just
nothing.
The inside of her eyelids, like that was it.
Wow.
And she was an artist.
And she was
so
an
like
artist?
Clearly she's creative. Like, she understands what everything looks like.
That's interesting, because I would assume that
she did say she uses references a lot. Like, she'll Google mountains and then kind of like
mimic,
you know,
if you
like,
will.
Yeah, like, you know, obviously not copy and trace, but like, okay, so it needs this kind of shading, it needs this and that, rather than picturing it herself.
That's interesting. I wonder if that's something where like it's easier or harder for an artist that has that different, I guess for the lack of a better term, I'll call it left brain, right brain kind of a thing, where it's just opposite brains. But that's really interesting. Now I'm like,
Corn says that TV you're talking about might be Word World.
Word World. Yes,
but...
yes, that's it. Yes.
Okay,
and it's all like, it's all 3D words all over the place, and it's just like I said, the tree would be, the trunk would say trunk, and then all the leaves in the tree would be like leaf, 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 and it's like branch.
Sounds like a good show for kids.
It's cool, because then they learn words without like they recognize words later on, basically.
Yes.
But yeah,
to get back to the other thing I've always thought of is, like, as a streamer, I almost wonder if I had more of an internal monologue, if it'd be easier to stream. Like,
I'll be honest, when I was streaming to 0 people, I would have that internal monologue with myself normally, so it was natural for me to be thinking of things and talking to myself in a way. So I just was like, just externalize it. I think in even one of my blog posts, I talk about like, just let that internal monologue come out, because before that I had no idea that there were people that didn't have it. So I was like, oh, just
every time I hear that, I'm like, I'm not thinking of anything. I'm just shoot the man, shoot the man, shoot the man, shoot the man, click the head.
So hold on. So if you have a mission in any game, just, it doesn't have to be Destiny, it doesn't have to be any specific game, but if a game says, go get the crown, we'll just pick something out of the hat, right? Go get the crown. Do you ever go, okay, well, in your head, I need to go to this part of the map to get the crown. I need to get this weapon so that I can beat these enemies once I get to that part of the level. Like, there's not...
I'm sure it's there, but I don't...
You don't
even you describing it, I can't think of that. Like, I don't think... To me, it just feels like I'm just doing the thing. Like, I know... Okay. I've played so many video games. I mean, I have probably hundreds of thousands of hours in gaming, right?
Right.
Like, at this point, I am just... I'm doing the motions.
So in those games, like Tarkov, for instance, you hated Tarkov.
Yeah.
I like
did.
Tarkov because I'm like, okay, so I want to go into this level. So what I need is I need a close quarters weapon with this sight, with all this stuff. And I'm like doing all this internal monologue in my head about planning just to be in the level. That's interesting.
Ancient Bread, I'm playing Tarkov right now.
That's a good game, but I'll probably start playing it again when the reset happens. Everyone's so far ahead of me. And right now, I'm like really wanting to play the Division from Division 1 all the way through Division 2 and the expansion and everything.
I may join you on that conquest, but we'll see. I'm not sold yet, but he does say pretend you're recording a YouTube video. I mean, I feel like that kind of fits in that same boat, though. Like, I think if I was to do that, because I've tried, I've done the stream to nobody.
Yep.
And I've even had days later in my career where, like, I played a different game. I've tried a story game by myself.
Okay.
And it feels so weird to me because, especially if you're not talking to somebody in chat, you're either going to sit silent or you have to come up with something to say. And I feel so awkward coming up with things to say because it doesn't feel natural. I'm not just like vocal. So I'm like forcing, I'm going to walk over here.
So it doesn't,
I'm clicking guy.
Like in your head, it doesn't just naturally occur. Like for me, it just naturally occurs. Like I see a story beat in a cinematic and all of a sudden there's all these thoughts that are going through my head. And I'm like, oh, just let those, instead of just holding them inside, just let them go through the microphone and speak what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
I could be like over the top YouTuber, maybe like, hey, what's going on, guys? Today we have, like
right. Just the complete like Nickelodeon host voice.
Yeah, maybe I could
do
Double
that. Dare
that
host.
Might be funny, but who knows?
Well, we did actually.
I wouldn't watch it though, but
remember when we were we were talking about, I think it was Dr. Disrespect at the time, but we were like talking about whether or not we should be a stream personality or we should just be ourselves and just do whatever we feel is natural. And I'm still like, I'm thinking about that. And I was even talking about it on my stream last night with some of the viewers. And I'm like, the cool thing about not being yourself, think about this. The cool thing about not being yourself is that if the character is not working in the current mode and you're not gaining followers, that character can morph to anything you ever want it to be. Like you can change directions. You don't
take it personally, right? Like no one's watching. And you're like, who cares? They're not watching me. They're watching.
J-Dog. I don't know. I don't know why I picked J-Dog, but whatever.
Yeah, they're watching J-Doggy Dog over here trying to be like gangster while he plays, and so that's not me. So who cares?
If that character is not amusing, you're like, well, I can just pivot that character and morph it because no one was watching anyways, and I can keep trial and erroring it until I find that one niche. I hate that word, but I can find that one thing that finally does gain traction, if you will. Whereas if you're just being you all the time, you're like, well, no one thought I was amusing. Shit.
I mean, I think no matter what, we're talking hyper personality change, right? Like, I'm sure Dr. Disrespect doesn't act like that when he's sitting there with his wife and they're like eating dinner. Okay. Maybe he does, but he probably doesn't, right?
You would hope not.
You figure any successful streamer is probably slightly acting, and I don't mean that out of like they're not being who they are, but like you have to overhype things. You have to.
You do. It's that
be over appreciative. You have to be like, maybe not. I mean, I don't know. I can't read anybody's brain, but like, everything has to be exciting.
It's that overreaction thing. It's when you watch those people that are like reaction YouTubers, right? You're like, this person is genuinely themselves, but like, that wasn't scary. You didn't have to jump out of your seat. Like it.
Yeah.
Whatever. You kind of knew it was coming, but okay, yeah, you're a reaction streamer, if you will.
Right.
I wonder if sometimes, like, because you were saying, like, Dr. Disrespect is probably, he's not sitting at the dinner table being like, what the fuck is this? And freaking and spitting all over the table.
Right. And he's like sitting there eating dinner like as fast as he can, screaming about being a
He's like, hold on, I got to go to the green screen and hop around. Like, I'm not doing that during dinner, right? But you got to wonder if at a certain point that character starts to become you. Like, if you're doing it for 8 to 12 hours a day and all of a sudden, like his wife is like, hey, you're not the doc right now. Chill. Like,
I do wonder, because if you act that much, like we just said, like he's a great example. He streams a lot. I mean, that's his career, that's his life,
Yeah.
you know. Does he sometimes forget which person he is, or did they be kind of like
meld together,
change the other person a little bit, you know, like
right?
Because I've even seen him at conventions. It's like I saw him at TwitchCon. I didn't talk to the guy, but like he walked by and like he was being the doc, you know, like he was like, I mean, they've showed videos of him at basketball games and he's wearing like the headset even, like watching a basketball game.
Do you think his ears are like, I don't even know what the real world sounds like. I always have a headset on. Like,
my ears would be like bleeding if I wore a headset as much as that guy.
Seriously. Like it would be... I almost want to like do... We were talking about doing like an A/B test, if you will. And we're like, okay, start a completely random Twitch channel where you're a completely random person. You do the whole persona thing, and then you do your normal Twitch channel, and see which one like works better. And then
if you see a guy on the internet named Saggy Booty Legs or something like that,
or it's Baggy Noodle Arm. It'll be very covert. Remember, you were
just one S, no S, Baggy Noodle Arm. If you find that Twitch page, it's not me, guys.
It's
I know he looks like me.
The background looks the same and like everything's the same.
It's not me, all right? He's a different guy. I'm trying a new thing.
Oh man, I wonder what.
But yeah, it would be fun to find out, right? Like, be a personality.
It would be really
so
fun.
Over the top.
It would be really fun.
And just see what happens.
You and I both talked about how awesome it would be to be an actor, like just to be like a Tom Cruise, where you're like, oh, I pretend to be other people all the time. That's what I do for a living. That would be...
I would be a Jim Carrey. I'm gonna be real.
You'd be a Jim Carrey. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd try to be more like a Chris Evans or something like that. Not just because his name's Chris, but like, I don't know, like that. I like him as an actor
I can't put a face to Chris Evans right now.
He's Captain America, dude.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I knew that.
What? Oh my god.
Can somebody cut that out of the VOD?
We don't have a dump button. We don't have a dump button. I mean, I think it would be fun to do the A/B test, but that would be exhausting. Actually, Ancient Bread, when we were talking about Doc, he said, nah, he gets exhausted 100%. And I mean, it does have to be like, you think there's ever a day where he wakes up and he's putting on the wig and he's like, mother of, like when we go to our jobs, sometimes you just don't want to go. And he's like, now I got to be the fucking Doc again. Like,
well, you know, they all have those moments.
Like,
yeah, but they don't want to do it. You know, my best example there would be like the Summit punching the webcam. Everybody knows that moment in the streaming world.
Yeah.
Almost everyone.
Yeah.
You know, he did not want to go to work that day. He got up and punched his monitor or whatever, and that's where we're at.
And Summit's one of the, well, I've never seen him really like fly off the hinge live. He's more of the...
He's very chill.
Even, him and Lupo are very even. It's not like a Doc situation where, you know, he stands up and screams his face off, spits everywhere, and then goes into some kind of cutscene for him so he can cool down or whatever. But I don't know. It would be...
That's why that moment was so much better, though. Like, he was like, I'm so sick of battle royales. He gets up and punches his monitor. Like, come on.
That's true.
I respect him for it.
That's true. There's some
welcome.
There's some relatability there, you know? Like, because how often are you like, why are they adding battle royale? Like, don't add battle royale.
Yeah.
Come on. Or like when a game's like, oh, we're going to add zombies. Yay. Because we don't have enough of that. Awesome.
It's funny you say relatability, because my favorite videos from Lupo are always like when he's like kind of chewing out one of his viewers. Like, somebody in the chat writes something so like he just shouldn't have wrote it, and Lupo calls him out and he's like, did you really just do that? What's wrong with you? And you're like, I can't even do like I can't even figure out a conversation, but it's just so funny when he calls him out and like tells him to get out of his channel.
Well, in that regard, it's like, because you're always supposed to be like this perfectly happy, like when a troll comes in, you're supposed to be like, oh, it's fine, it's good. Or when someone says something stupid, you're like, oh no, whatever, it's good, it's fine, everything's perfect. But when someone freaks out and they call someone out on the stream, and you're like, yes, finally, someone's doing it. Finally, someone's calling someone out for being a dumb internet person. because
it's funny that you say we're supposed to, right? Because there's no written rule anywhere.
it's
I mean,
just-
there's 100 YouTube videos that tell you to like act away, but they're not professionals most of the time. And even if they are, they're one person. Not everybody's gonna watch. If they're gonna watch that person, they're gonna watch that person, not me acting like that person.
Right. Well, it's the Bad Bunny situation. You know, the $5 a month. She got a bunch of followers from that because
I heard she made a lot of money.
she was
and there's a bunch of tweets now.
all over the internet. And now, again, now all of a sudden we're now getting these massive amount of tweets of these people like disrespecting. I say in quotes because I'm pretty sure they're doing it for just the shareability of those videos. And then all of a sudden, people come in, they see this video, and they're like, this can't be the real person. So they go into one of their streams. They're really not that person. And all of a sudden, now they're like, oh, I actually like this guy. I'm going to follow and maybe subscribe. And
Speaking of which, if you're listening to this podcast and you're not subscribed, what are you doing?
$5 a month. Share that. Hold on, clip it.
What's funny is, a lot of people make fun of Ninja. I get why. He in his younger years was a little more cringe than and he can be. I still respect the guy, but he came out with a video calling out those videos. He was like, stop sharing them, stop liking them, stop anything. Because
MTD Robin subscribes right away. There it is. Raise his hand and everything.
Anyone not watching this, we just had a subscriber in the chat with a tier 2. Thank you, Robin. He's been here for 21 months doing that, so it wasn't out of the blue, but that is funny. That was perfect timing.
Good timing, Robin. Thank you, sir.
It's, what, on that point, I don't know. My favorite, like, big, mega streamer is Tim the Tap Man.
Okay.
And anyone who hasn't watched him,
he's got a dent in his head, though.
He does have a dent in his head. That video is hilarious. See, that's an overreacting, I think, though. Like, I think.
Oh my God!
I think it caught him off, but he plays that for like 5 minutes and he does it well.
Yeah, he did.
But he does this bit all the time that he asks for subs or money, and it never fails, not once. Yes, it was this morning, I think. Somebody's told him he was a bad businessman, and he said, "Oh yeah, you think I'm a bad businessman?" Somebody in the chat, $250. I'll wait, and he throws his arms back and he waits. Like, he finally gives up because no one donates, and like 30 seconds later, $250.
And
then $251, then $252, and then $253. And he's sitting there and he's like, "What was that? Bad businessman?"
It's ridiculous.
And it's just like, there's something about that for some reason makes people give money. I don't really get it, because if anybody walked up to me and said like, give me $10, I'd be like, no.
Right. Well, there's this weird thing called social proof that exists. You and I obviously both watch Ashley, and she was talking about social proof and how to use Twitter and how to use social media and stuff like that. And it's so true, because the more people that follow, the more people that subscribe, the more people that do something, there will be other people that are like, oh, I want to join in on this. Let's go. Let's keep going.
Yep.
That's why Twitch made the hype train.
You want to be a part of it.
That's why Twitch made the hype train, or as Harris calls it, the scam train.
The scam train. All aboard.
All aboard the scam train. We live in this weird world where if someone does something, everyone else wants to be a part of it. And I'm not saying everyone in general. I'm just saying, like, there's something to be said about everyone wants to see a train wreck, or everyone wants to be part of something big. So, like Tim the Tap Man with the $250 donation, then $251, $252. It's like, oh, well, I was going to do $250, but I may as well one up them. So I'm the one on the top of the board. And then the next person's like, well, I want to be on the top of the board.
Damn people with money fighting for 5 minutes of clout.
Fighting for their username being on the top of some list. I mean, what? That's crazy.
Speaking of which, we love all of you that have that kind of money, and if you want to do that here, no one would complain. So anyway,
$5. No, we just need that soundbite. Wasn't that your subscription sound for a little bit?
Still my subscription
Is it still?
alert.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
I'll probably
good.
change it soon. It was kind of like I'm not like a big memer, but when I heard that, the first time I heard that video, I was like, that's my new sub sound. That's perfect.
The problem with it now, though, is that now everyone's doing it, and you see a new one every single day of a new streamer saying that same type of statement, and it's just
Yeah.
And it's at the point now where I'm like, everyone's got to stop sharing this. Everyone, because you can't continue to share these things because it brings clout to doing that type of content.
Makes more. Exactly.
And
me and my fiance talked about it. Becky Baggy, as you all know her, talked about it
oh,
yesterday. I want to say.
Look at this. Look at this. We got Postal with 200 bits.
And MTD Robin with 201, just to one up him. I love it.
That's good.
Thanks, guys. And Lady Edge, welcome to the stream.
Welcome.
But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so it's the same thing with like gross dudes on the internet, right? Like these girls go in their DMs and they see this guy like saying something he shouldn't, or he just says it in the comments blatantly, not in the DM, and everybody blows it up. And part of me gets that, because it's like, I'm alerting the internet that this guy, we should all block him. We should all just like,
everyone should abandon this guy completely.
Off the face of Twitter.
Yep.
But it gives so much attention to that person. They may have just done it for attention, and then somebody else is like, oh my god, that dude had 100,000 people retweeting this thing. I want 100,000 people retweeting me, and
I'm gonna do
whatever
the same
it is.
thing. Like I just saw literally, it was almost word for word the same thing as Bad Bunny was saying, and I saw 2 separate tweets this week with the same exact content, and people being like, you need to ban this person, and if you think that your viewers are this type of person and you need to treat your viewers this way, you should be terrible. And I'm like, but now everyone has seen this guy and they all want to go see if he's really like that, or if that person is really like that, and they stop in and they go, oh, he's not really like that. Oh, I like this guy, actually. Subscribe or follow or whatever. Right. It's so weird that people it's easier for people to share bad things than it is for good things. Like,
if it's going to be good, it has to be like really good. Like you saved somebody from like a fire or something, you know, like you carried a baby out of a fire that you didn't know. Like that's the
and then
type
someone's
of
like,
that
that's photoshopped. No.
Yeah. Edited.
Anything good is questioned. Anything bad is like, oh yeah, that's just how they are.
They're just the worst. Yeah.
Right. So let's cover this Call of Duty tournament that we got going on here this weekend, because we're still struggling for some entries, right? How many do we have now? 4 or 5, I think.
Well, it's 4 with me. I haven't filled it out, but I have a teammate now.
Right.
Lady Edge has offered to be my teammate.
Awesome.
And we're coming for blood. So she's been practicing today. I haven't played in 2 months, so we're basically gonna win this thing.
You're doing really well. Okay, nice.
Yeah. So there's 4 teams right now, as far as I know. I haven't checked in a couple hours.
Me and my son are one of them.
You're one of them. I can't remember
we got
everybody else.
Slurpee and Tej in there.
Miss Tej.
I can't remember the other team for some reason.
Teammates, I think. Right.
So if you have the full version of Call of Duty and you want to play, please, for the love of everything, let's make this the biggest tournament we've ever had. If you have friends out there that play Call of Duty but they're not part of the C2, they can join for the day, compete for a while, and just see if they like the C2 community, and just let's get a big tournament going, because I really
I would love a minimum of 8 teams, but like 16, anything bracket size would be lovely.
That would be
16
awesome.
Teams would be like huge thumbs up for me right there. 16 teams, that's 32 people all playing in something, having a good time.
We're all
potentially winning a prize.
There's $1,000 Call of Duty points prize for each,
Whoa.
or 1,000 points, 1,000 points, 1,000 COD points. So it basically gets you the battle pass for this season, or if you already have it, next season potentially.
The only caveat I've put on that is if it's 4 teams, I'm not sure the prizes come out. We'll see.
Well, I mean, if it's 4 people and it's
we want a tourney,
3 games, and you're like, yay, we won. Whatever. But
we want a real tournament here. We want someone to actually earn this prize.
Here's the other thing: we have a video editor now, people. So one person from each team streams. Everyone sends in their VODs. This video editor is going to cut like the highlight reel of this tournament, and that's going to go out there and be promoted for the next tournaments, just to show that we can put out a good tournament. It's going to be cool. It's going to be really cool as long as we get the participants. So even if you're a little iffy on it, just participate, because you never know. Call of Duty is one of those games where it's like you could just have the angle. or the
That's it.
ping. Literally,
Grenade.
yeah. In Call of Duty, it could even come down to ping. Like all of a sudden, you just have a better ping, and you've got it. So just get in there, and we'll have a good time. We have 2 casters. Who are the casters? We got Noise.
So we have Daxon, who's been pretty active in the Discord lately. So if you're in there, you probably know him. And then Noises. He actually used to play in our Fortnite tourneys back in the day. He actually is a very good caster. He's done this quite a few times. So I'm pretty excited. This is Daxon's first time, but I'm confident he can do it. And
well, having someone like Noise that's
Yeah.
done it a couple times will pull it out of Daxon. Daxon will inherently get better at it. Continue to cast.
Because once again, everything we do is very community driven. So it's all about like, everybody having a good time and everybody kind of maybe working on some skills they want to work on. So everyone will get better at things and just have fun.
What do you think the next tournament's going to be?
I'm getting a lot of requests for Valorant. My
5
only
though?
two concerns.
If we can't get 2v2s, enough teams for
That's one of the
2v2s.
two. So I'm having 2 issues with Valorant being the next game. One, it's teams of 5. Now, on Twitter, Bojangles reached out and he did say he thinks that you can do like customs 3v3. So we could make smaller teams potentially for the Valorant tournament.
Could work. Yeah.
That is an option.
Yeah.
The other problem I have right now is you obviously had to have gotten lucky and gotten access on a Twitch drop.
Right.
So I think if we do Valorant, we'll probably wait until it's like legitimately out.
Full game.
I mean, it's supposed to be free to play anyway. So, everybody will be able to participate, get in on the action.
The only problem is like Call of Duty has the benefit of crossplay. So
Valorant's a PC game. So
we in Call of Duty we have Xbox players, we got PlayStation players, we got PC players. So like the pool of potentials is wider than like a Valorant because
for sure.
I
mean, we'll probably do a bunch of these tourneys, like especially if they start going well. Once we start getting participants in all these tourneys, like we'll start doing them more often.
I mean, that's the thing. Like if every single tourney we ran, let's say we got 20 people, conservatively speaking. Like if we it was like we did it every other week, and we constantly had the people participating. We'd do it all the time. Because I mean,
right.
That's just more fun for us because like I would play in all of them just to have something else to be like, oh, I'm going to focus on this game this week so I can play in the tournament just for fun. Like, I'm going to focus on that game. Oh, this is actually a game I'm really good at, so I might actually win this tournament kind of a thing, like just keeping the community.
Turning people can get in, or just the community can get in, or someone who wants to show off, hey, that's my game.
Right.
They're finally doing my game. I'm going to come on. I'm going to show them who's boss.
Right. I've come in last place in every tournament, but that's my game. I'm in. Let's go.
My game. And then they lose. No.
And then they're like, that's not my game. Oh, dang it.
I need a new game. Postal, he says he still has not got a Valky, and I know for a fact he's been trying because I wanted to try it with him. He's my usually go-to gaming guy.
Right.
We play a lot of Destiny together, so he's been trying to get a Valorant key so we could try it out.
So I watched Valorant.
He's had no luck.
I watched Valorant for 3 days with like tons of just streams all over the place on my monitor, right? One day I finally closed all of them down except for one, and I got a key like an hour later. So only watch one stream. And Valorant or whatever it's called, like anyone who's playing the game is now eligible for drops. You just have to be watching the category. You don't even have to activate drops. Everyone is now active. Because remember when you posted that in the Discord?
Now, we'll be streaming Valorant on this channel 24/7.
We'll put someone AFK in Valorant just to have it. Like whatever. Just have a controller plugged in and do the rubber band trick that you tape it around so you're never not moving or whatever. But so Lady Edge was saying crossplay is boss, and that's one.
I was gonna point that out too.
One thing that I wanted to talk about that I mentioned earlier in our VC was crossplay is getting a little bit of flack right now. Because everyone wanted it for so long, right? Everyone's like, oh, all we want is crossplay. Come on, give us crossplay, please, please.
Long,
forever. Like that was the thing, right? And now we have it in a handful of games. And so now what's happening, or at least that I'm seeing in the news, because well, that's just how it works, is now console players are disabling crossplay so they don't have to play with PC cheaters is literally what the headlines say. PC cheaters. Yeah. And then you go into the comments and I see terrible, terrible things like, yeah, those PC guys think they're all that, but they're all cheaters. And we're like, wait, what the hell? And then so you also see the other ones that are like, well, keyboard and mouse is so much easier to aim with, and there's no benefit for a controller player playing against keyboard and mouse. And then I'm like, aimbot, what about your aim assist? That's basically aimbot. Anyway.
So Ancient Bread did just say, and I was going to say what you just said. He says PC doesn't care about crossplay, but consoles do. I actually have, oddly enough, heard people on PC complain about controller aim assist being a thing, and it's true. In Halo's the example I have. It came out, Master Chief Collection came out on PC recently, and a lot of Halo players, like known for Halo back in the day, were pissed because they are now PC gamers. You know, I'm talking like big streamers. So typically they switch over to PC. It's more streaming friendly. And they were mad that they were mouse and keyboard players and they could not compete against controller players on Halo because the controller had such high aim assist. Well, so the aim assist was so high.
I've actually had so I play this past weekend. I want to say it was this weekend or it was the previous weekend. I played with one Xbox player, which is my buddy from California that I've known for years, and then I played with the Cooch, and it was a PlayStation player, an Xbox player, and a PC player. And that's what makes crossplay amazing, is because I wouldn't have been able to have that party unless crossplay was a thing. But I actually experienced two different things. So aim assist, yes, it's very strong in a lot of games now, but I noticed that in a situation where it's CQB, so it's close quarters and they have to spin around and shoot you, they have the advantage. But when it's distance shots or something that requires you to, on a console, feather the trigger so that you can control the recoil versus me on PC where I can hold the button down and just adjust based on dragging the mouse down, there's benefits both ways, you know?
There is.
And
I agree.
Call of Duty has some pretty high aim assist. I haven't played Halo, so I can't really quote that. There are times where I see a kill cam and I'm like, wow, that was ridiculous. Like they spin around faster than I've ever seen anyone spin around and then just glue to you instantaneously. I'm like, if I didn't know better, if I didn't know they were on controller, I would think that's aimbot. Like I would totally think that's them hitting a macro and aimbot happening.
Well, that's the thing. Like you said, so close quarters, like I would say 9 times out of 10, the mouse and keyboard has the upper hand. Like you can move your arm easily with precision enough that you spin like exact amount of degrees you want pretty much and then aim, right? Like it's not terribly difficult once you get used to it. On a mouse, on a controller, you're holding the thumbstick one direction all the way.
And then you're guessing when you let go.
You're waiting, yeah. But on the other hand, like you said, like snipers on controllers sometimes just feel like aimbots because I have to click the exact pixel. There's very little like give or take with my mouse. Like I have to click the pixel of their head. And then the controller, Destiny is my best example because it's what I play the most. If you hold the thumbstick, you can literally watch the thumbsticks fast, and then the reticle slows down for a couple pixels.
Yep.
And then it speeds up again. Like
you have the same thing
to that head.
You have the same thing in Call of Duty. And the best example I can say is like, let's say you're aiming at someone through a doorway, and their buddy runs behind them in the doorway, and all of a sudden your controller goes, "Oh, I'm gonna follow them."
It pulls. On that side, I've been mad back when I used to play only consoles. I've been mad that I'm like waiting to aim at a guy's head and someone slides by or something, and, now my reticle gets pulled and I can't shoot the guy I was aiming for. So it's definitely plus and minuses all across the board. Like it's very hard to tune crossplay. I think that's the problem.
I would rather have crossplay though. I would. I agree. 100% rather have crossplay because I now get to play with some people that I would never be able to play with without it. And that to me is worth some of the disadvantages. Yeah, I mean, I'm on PC, so I have to deal with the aimbot people and the cheaters anyways. But like one thing that I noticed that no one is talking about on these forum posts or these threads on Twitter is no one's like talking about the fact that they're like controller players are better than PC players, and you're like, well, you have the computer literally assisting you all of the time to aim. And like, I'm not going to get in the flame war about that because I'm like, well, you need it because otherwise you would never be able to hit anything. because
Right.
it's like if you've ever played a game without aim assist, it's really hard. You have to play a stealth game where you can like plan your shots and
The best way to test that for all you people who think you're the best without aim assist, this does go for mouse too, actually, on some games.
This is true.
Is find a friendly in a game that you can't hurt your friend and try to shoot them while they run around. Like your teammate, have them run around and you try to shoot them. And I guarantee you it's harder than you think.
it is. It is.
Because it doesn't typically, most games don't glue to your teammates because you're not trying to ever shoot your teammate. So
In the world of cheating, I did see that Call of Duty is trying to take more measures to pair cheaters together.
I saw that.
So Grand
I
Theft
love
Auto
it.
did it for a while, where you'd have the people that were cheating, and they would all be put in the same lobby, and it would just be a cheaters lobby, and whatever, they can have their fun, right? I think that is great. That's amazing.
Agreed.
The only thing that worries me is like no one knows what the algorithm for cheating is. So is it like someone on PlayStation reports you because you're a mouse? Like there's times where I get kills, like I will scroll the mouse and I will literally right on their head and fire and they're done. And I'm like, wow, that looks like aimbot. That totally looked like aimbot. It had to. But I have the mouse sensitivity worked down to the point where I know how far I need to move, and I clicked it at the right time. So is it like a reporting system where they're like, oh, if you get reported as a cheater?
System. But the thing is, as you just said, if that's luck, right? Like if you just you don't do that every single time.
No, but
right?
but that PlayStation player that I just shot in the face.
A day. Yeah, but still, you get reported like once a day in your 4-hour session or twice a day. They're probably like, okay, whatever.
They're
like
like, yeah,
you got a lucky shot, and
he played.
If you're reported every game, it's like okay, like
True.
I'm sure there's some sort of measurement there that like. You know,
we hope,
because they might even just they lost to you. You know, like some people just hate losing so bad they report everyone on the other side.
Because
I've seen it.
Here's another thing is because people will call cheating. My son used to do this, and I finally broke him of it, where every single time he died, he's like, cheater. And I'm like, no, he's just better than you. It's different. He's just better than you.
It sucks you say even like to even think that because lately I got out of that habit. I used to be in that habit back in the console days. Like, you know, I was the best. So clearly everybody else was cheating. You could
never die, right?
But
everyone was cheating because you're the best player ever.
Yep. Exactly. Of course. That's why I'm an esports player. Anyway, so now, though, a lot of games are actually having a lot of cheating issues. It's been a problem.
It's
more noticeably in the past 6 months than ever before to me.
Well, here's an interesting thing.
And now it's making me question so many kills. Like, I can't play games now without. I might not vocalize it, but I'm like, I may have been a cheater.
I do it too. Like in the back of my mind, because okay, so everyone wants to call out PC players because it's easier to cheat on PC. It really is. It just is. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But there's also attachments that you can connect to your PlayStation that plug into USB. It's recognized as a controller, and it still does the same cheats, and on Xbox as well. So there's cheats on console as well, but people
more work, more money.
More work. You have to buy this adapter thing. You have to do all these extra things in order to make it happen. But it's like one of those, like cheaters are going to cheat no matter what system they're on, what game they're playing. It's just going to be that world. I've never understood that. Like, especially in competitive. Like I used to use the God code in Doom because I was scared of the game when I was a child. Because everything scared me. So I was like, if I am invincible, nothing can kill me, and I'm not scared of this game. So it made it so that I can play. But like cheating in a multiplayer game, I'm like, even if you're number one, and you know you cheated, you're not number one. Like
you're number one at cheating.
You yourself are not number one. You didn't win anything. The computer did it for you.
Yeah. First off, welcome Bojangles to the stream. But I do agree with that, and I question the same thing. I mean, as you said, there's single-player games we've all cheated in. Like, a lot of people have cheated in The Sims to spawn whatever they want or had infinite money.
Animal Crossing, time traveling. I don't know if that's really cheating, but because
it's not. Yeah, it's. I mean, you know, the developers have never said one way or the other, but you know, it's a form of doing what's not intended of the game, technically speaking. I think now, the newer one, it's kind of on purpose in a way because They've always had it in the game.
So it's like
But it uses your console's time to decide what time and day it is in the game.
Well, it's like part of the
change it.
The meta now. Like time traveling is part of the game now. Right. The only difference is now
so I don't know cheating. There's the purists versus the time travelers or whatever,
Sure.
I typically am on the purist side of things, but it's just because otherwise I think I'd burn through the game and be done.
You're like, I'm gonna just do all the things, time travel until I'm done, and then yay, I did it.
Yeah, like I would probably be bored faster, so I'm doing it as like a favor to myself.
Yeah, sure. Well, there's something to be said there, is like, because I force myself to play games a certain way sometimes because I'm like, well, I mean, in Ghost Recon, let me take that for an example. Like, I can run into every single fight and just shoot everyone in the head because it's one shot to the head all over the place.
Done that.
And you're like, this is not fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to force myself to play stealthy, and if I get caught, that's a bad thing. So you put your own limitations on the game to make it more amusing to yourself, in a way.
Play your way.
Yeah. And
is that PlayStation's motto? It's one of their mottos, I think. Play your way or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like a motto. If not, it's the C2s now. No.
Welcome, Nolly. What were we talking about? So yeah, cheaters. I mean, I don't really get it in online multiplayer either. Like, I will say that some people actually do it as a career. Destiny's an example there.
Wait, they cheat as a career?
I'll explain it. So there's a game mode called Trials, and it's highly competitive, yada yada. You get gear and accomplishments for making it to this 7-win straight lighthouse, right? And people cheat, and they charge money to carry you to the lighthouse.
So you didn't cheat.
You may not even know. You may not even know they're cheating. You just go, oh, this kid's really good. He's got a 3.0 KD. He'll carry me. He says $20. Meh. I make $20. Like whatever. And you hand him the $20. And you may, even in the game, depending on what cheats they're using, you may never know. Like one of them is just you can see players through walls. So I wouldn't necessarily know you're cheating if that was your cheat, because I might just think you're really damn good at sniping, right?
See, we talked about this. Remember the days of screen watching? And I was like, remember the days when you'd screen peek and you didn't mean to, so you would purposefully pretend like you didn't see it?
Yeah. Right.
You're like, oh, I just turned around because I wanted to walk the other way. What are you talking about?
My head was itchy, so I turned my head to scratch
it.
And,
what do you mean I was cheating?
But yeah, so they charge money to do the thing, and they're cheating. So they make it, like, I don't want to call it a career, I guess, but it's like a small business.
$20 here and there, and you don't really have to work for it, I guess. That's terrible sounding, but I mean,
they could probably make.
That's
I mean,
gross.
They could carry 2 people. They're cheating, so it's easy, and it's teams of 3. So $40, and they can probably do it in under an hour. $40 an hour to play Destiny all weekend.
Yuck! But that ruins the whole Destiny experience. Like, I've seen a lot of things about Destiny recently, and I don't know if it's because you and I talk more, and you're a Destiny player, and that's kind of your game. But like recently, I've just been seeing a lot of like hate on Destiny and on Bungie just going around. What's up with that? Like, why is that happening?
Bungie hate is never, in my mind, never warranted, right? Especially the people who go overboard and say like kill or yada yada. Like, these are people, they're doing their job. When they're done their job, they go home and hang out with their family,
play their own video games, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of them do play, which is also really cool. But the thing there is the content's a little stale right now. I can't lie about it. It's very like do bounties, which is like get 10 kills with a sniper, and you just that's the whole game right now, is just complete these random bounties for everything.
They call them like assignments or whatever in a lot of games, like just miscellaneous things.
So we all call them like bounty goblins. You just like run and do these bounties all day. But so that's the PvE side of the world right now in Destiny, and the PvP side is riddled with cheaters, like insane amount of cheating. So you can't go to
Crucible at all? Like, isn't that what you primarily play?
I play a lot of Crucible, and it's why I haven't played Destiny since a couple days now. It's not so bad that I can't play and not get a cheater, but it's to the point that I can't play like a whole day without at least questioning 3 or 4 teams, and they may not have been cheating.
Wow, okay.
Right? But like, I am nonstop, almost being like you said your son was, like, that guy's probably cheating, and maybe he wasn't. There are people way more skilled at things than me, and that's just a fact.
Right. But
it makes the game fun because you're constantly thinking everybody's cheating.
Well, so you get into that mode where you're like, I don't think everyone's a cheater, but everyone on Twitter says everyone's a cheater that I see.
Yeah.
So I feel like everyone might be a cheater. Like, you just kind of like...
They beat me. It seemed a little weird. They played kind of weird. Yeah, they cheated.
Okay.
Man, I lost to a cheater. There's also a lot of network issues going on. So, like, you'll get kicked in the middle of the game. And in that mode, that's, like I said, it's kind of high competitive. There's a lot of stakes in it.
Yeah.
If you get kicked, it's considered a loss.
Well, aren't there Guardian Games or something? Isn't Guardian Games?
That just came out. Guardian Games is figure out which class is the best. There's Hunter, Warlock, Titan.
Yeah.
And it's literally whatever class completes the most bounties in the world.
Oh, so Bounty Hunter, Bounty Goblin, as you were saying.
Do you know how upset I logged in Tuesday to look at the Guardian Games, and I kind of knew that's what it was going to be because of they've been advertising it. But when I walked in there and saw that was the whole thing, basically, I was like, I thought it was going to be like almost like a mini Olympics, like.
That's what it sounds like.
Obstacle courses, and see if like Titans are the fastest at all the obstacle courses, or Hunters, and then like Sparrow Racing, and like all these different like almost like fun games. I thought. Yeah,
the Guardian Games does sound like Olympic-ish. Yeah. I'd agree with that.
No, it's what class does the most bounties. They made it kind of fun, like each class got a class item, and it turns whatever color your rank is right now. Like if Hunters are gold, first they're all gold cape stuff.
Okay.
If they're second, they have silver or whatever.
That does sound kind of cool. That's interesting.
Yeah. And the tower has 3 flags that with each symbol, and it raises or lowers.
Oh, so you can kind of like see where you're at and stuff. Okay. I mean, that's the concepts sound cool, but.
Yes. But it's once again, it's like this big, really cool concept that it's almost our fault in some way as a fan of the game. You want everything to be so awesome because you love what it is. And then you go in and like you had your hypes too high.
Yeah, the expectation was here, the delivery was here. So like I run into this a couple times. So I was talking last night to some people, and I was like, well, my expectation for X movie was really, 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 really low. So I ended up really enjoying it because my expectation was so low that it exceeded that, and I figured that, oh, well, it's a good movie. Whereas if my expectation is like, oh, this is going to be the greatest movie ever made, and then it falls anywhere below that, I'm like, it was fine. Meh.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a human problem, right? Like, I wonder if you came into Destiny today and saw the Guardian Games or whatever, if you'd be like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Right.
Like, you might be. And I don't know because I'm not. I can't have that perspective anymore. I'm a vet. I've been there forever.
Well, that's also interesting.
I mean, I still think they could have done better. I'm not saying they did the best, but like, there's perspective there.
That's interesting because like me, I've played only a little bit of Destiny 2. I played most of it on PS4. You can transfer your character, and I played a little bit on PC just to see it.
Yeah.
But like me as like. I guess I would still consider myself more of a novice of Destiny. I would get into the Guardian Games and be like, oh, I can actually contribute to this. Like, it's not something outlandish for me where I'm like, oh, I just need sniping kills or I need whatever, something that I can contribute to. I can do this. I can play. I can participate.
Yeah.
So that there is something there to be like, it's got to be enough for new players that come in, because also Stadia just launched, kind of just launched. They're on this weird soft launch thing, but Stadia became free for their pro version for a while. So maybe even this was like, because Destiny was like the Stadia game in the beginning. Maybe it was even like, oh, let's get these new people that are playing Stadia versed up in their Destiny world. So we're gonna make this cool event, but it's going to be something that everyone can contribute to, kind of a thing. Maybe it wasn't even made for really the hardcore players, which sucks because really, let's be honest, that at this point, the hardcore players are who you kind of should be pandering to, because...
Especially 5 years in or whatever.
Yeah.
They're running into the problem all online games have, though. Like, you either make really big content every year, 6 months, whatever, depending on your resources, or you come out with small things every month to keep people entertained.
Yep.
And both lose because the small things are never fantastic. But the big things, you have to wait 6 months. So everybody leaves or is bored for 6 months. So like you can't really win unless you have a ton of money and resources to just keep the game amazing 24/7.
Well, wasn't Bungie trying to like, since they severed their ties with, was it Activision or who was it?
Activision.
So
yeah.
they severed
Yeah.
their ties with Activision, and now I wonder if they're like kind of lost in a way because there's no one like pushing them to do something amazing. Like maybe their vision isn't quite there because they were so under the thumb of this big producer for so long, whereas now they have.
I feel weird commenting because like I'm a Bungie fanboy, so
Okay.
to me, Bungie doesn't do anything wrong, right? Like, I mean, they do, but you get
Sure,
my
sure,
point.
sure.
Like, evil Activision, even if they weren't, just because, I think they have more freedom, which I think's a blessing and a curse, right? They like you said, they don't have somebody like pushing on certain things, and maybe even, I mean, they've mentioned having that, what do they call that? You know, they make them work like 60 hours to crank something
crunch.
out, and crunch,
Yeah,
So
crunch.
they've mentioned that, and how now, like, being their own thing, they're working to try to reduce crunch. They don't want that. That's not good for the employees. It's not a good atmosphere for them.
Right.
And I respect that, of course. I want them to have lives and families and whatever. So they escaped that, and they can be more creative with things and try new things. But that also means they have less funding. They have, and maybe the new idea they came up with isn't good. That's also possible.
Are they monetizing well, would you say? I mean, we know Fortnite made millions and billions of dollars, but like, are they monetizing well as a game?
So
do you accept it as a veteran where you're like, no, I'll pay for some stuff, or you never do?
I've spent a little bit of money, and I have been debating spending a little more recently. Not like a ton, I'll throw $20, but but it hurts because Bungie has made it a little more of a cosmetic pay to get thing, unless you have so much time on your hands you play nonstop. You can technically earn everything, but like not everything. 90% of things you can earn, but like you have to play more than even I play and to get it all. And I don't know who can besides streamers who do it for a living.
Right. Okay.
And that hurts in a game like that because the game is a looter, right? Like, it's the whole focus on the game is getting loot. So if the loot is hidden behind a paywall, it never feels good. So it's this really weird spot to be in because you want to fund the company. You want to help them succeed. You want your game to be flourishing. But you want the loot to be earnable because that's the game.
Yeah,
Fortnite does it because it's not the point.
Part of the fun of playing a game is having that piece that you grind it out, and you're finally like, hey, guess what? I have this gun, or I have this chess piece, or I have this thing that the only way you can get it is to do these specific missions or things or something that takes a while, and you take some pride in that, rather than being like, well, I did all the missions and that guy paid $10.
I will say, I mean, they usually have armor and stuff, like raid specific armor, so they still have that.
Okay.
But like a lot of the best looking gear, arguably, that's very opinion based, right?
Sure.
But like, it's said time and time again, a lot of the like new cool looking stuff is the paywall. So it becomes that thing of like, that guy has really cool loot, and like you said, you want to be like, where'd you get that? What'd you do to earn that? That's so cool. And they're like, oh, I paid $5.
And you're like, oh, that was a terrible story. I thought you were gonna say like, you slayed this thing and you did all these missions and you did all this stuff, and you can usher me through so I can get it if you want to too. Like, I don't know. Like,
there's never been a weapon. There's never been a weapon you could only buy. So they've made sure it's never pay to win. It's just pay to look good.
It's pay to look.
So I respect that, right? Like they haven't like gone too far in my opinion. I don't like where it's at. I'd rather it be different.
Yeah.
But as long as it's never pay to win, I will hold on.
Pay to win is rough. Pay to win is very rough. I'm going to say that we should hold off the I was going to ask you, do you prefer to buy do you prefer a season pass structure like we used to have, where you'd buy a $60 game and then you buy the season pass and get a bunch of extra content, versus what we have now? But I think we should hold that off for the next episode. We're right about at an hour and a half.
First time ever. One topic we'll talk about next week for sure.
Yeah, so next week we'll talk about, whether or not we liked season passes better, or the current climate that we kind of live in with a lot of free-to-play games, or a lot of games are going just free, and then you get a bunch of stuff, and then there's just these microtransactions continuously. We'll talk about that next week. But you know what? For tonight, everyone, please, if you don't want to play in the Call of Duty tournament, please show up. It'll be a great time. If you know anyone that plays Call of Duty,
this Twitch channel.
It'll be right here on C2 Creator Crew. And if you know anybody that does play Call of Duty and they're not part of C2, or even if they are and they haven't heard about it quite yet, please spread the word. We want to get some more teams in this tournament, because the success of each individual tournament determines how soon we do the next tournament, because the more demand for tournaments, the more tournaments we're going to do. It's just, that revolving door kind of concept. We will be back next week at 8 p.m., same time, same place. When are you streaming next, Mr. Baggy Noodle Arms?
I shouldn't even answer that question. I'll say Friday, but if you go to my channel Friday, I'm not there.
Okay,
Don't be surprised.
Follow Baggy Noodle Arms on Twitter for updates on his next stream.
There you go. Twitter, I will be active today.
I will be live tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. U.S. East at The Real Darth Guy on Twitch. And everyone, thank you so much for being here. Sorry we didn't get to interact with the chat a little bit more, but we were super intense in conversation. We'll be better at that next time. And do you have any last words there, Justin?
Real quick, gaming news, Animal Crossing update tomorrow, Fortnite event tomorrow, 7 Eastern time. If you watch this concert in-game, you get a glider for any of you Fortnite guys. Sea of Thieves had an update today. Just some, cool little
things.
Reminders,
Okay.
And that's probably it.
That's all we got.
We'll see you next week.
Stick around. We are going to pick someone to raid and send you guys over there, but we are done, and thank you for joining us. See you next week, 8 p.m. U.S. East. See you.
Have a good night.